All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Torah on Tap. Tonight, we are going to finish I'm not even sure how many classes it's been, but we're going to finish up our series on the elements, mastering the earth, wind, fire, and water. And tonight, for our finale, I'm calling this class Shift Happens, the art of making real change. And what this tonight is a compendium of everything I know about personal growth and development. And there are elements of tonight's class that have been parts of conversations we've had over the almost 5 years of me being here giving this class. Okay, so it's going to be for some it'll be a review. And for others, I'm sorry, I can only do so much. It's your first time. Hopefully it won't be your last. But know that anything that is meaningful in life requires two things. One, time and commitment. Right? That's true for all things in life. Anything that is meaningful requires those two things. So Bezrat Hashem, we walk away with some clarity. So let me ask you a little bit of riddle. Okay? If you know the answer, don't call it out. 10 frogs are sitting on a log. And 9 decide that they're going to jump off. How many frogs do you have on the log? 0? What happened?
No,
What?
say it again.
You had 10 frogs sitting on a log, and 9 decide to jump off. How many frogs are sitting on the log?
0.
Okay, why 1? Oh, okay, fine. You can do the math, Rabbi. 9 minus. Okay, fine. Yeah. Why 10?
They didn't jump off.
They didn't jump.
Ah, they decided.
Hi, I'm a teacher.
Right?
My brain's done.
Decisions without action means nothing. Can I repeat that? A decision without action means nothing. You can decide right now, I want to be so good, I want to walk away, I want to be Rabbi. It's Mizrahi, I don't know what he spoke about tonight. What did he speak about? Oh, anxiety. I'm deciding I'm not going to be. Is that what he spoke about? Or
No.
Shoots.
It's about regret. It's about how you have.
Wasn't that the title?
Yes.
Wasn't that the title? Right, Mizrahi, I know you're going to watch this later tomorrow, and I'm going to, what happened? Anyway, okay, fine. So, I don't know, he was supposed to speak about anxiety, but I don't know what happened in his class. But whatever his message was.
He spoke about bearing the yoke of Hashem.
Bearing a yoke. Okay, great. So, if you decided you're going to walk out of this class, you're going to bear God's yoke. And I don't know why, I just think of eggs every time I say that. But if you're going to go ahead and, and carry out God's will, right? Making that decision means absolutely nothing. And all of you are guilty of coming to classes for so many years, hearing things and deciding, you know what, that's great, that's awesome, I'm in, Rabbi. And then it's like that, do you guys know who Jack Handy is? Jack Handy was a famous writer. There used to be these, when Saturday Night Live was actually good, back in the day, he had these short little clips by Jack Handy, right? And one of my favorite ones is, sometimes in life, I wonder about how people are starving and what we can do to make the world a better place. And then I think about what's for lunch. It's like very satirical, dark kind of humor. But the idea that we know that something is wrong, right? We know their action has to happen, and then somehow we get lost in the ether.
Even worse, you save the notes from the class and you have a whole stack of them and you never look back.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's true. I'm not going to even hear that. Okay. How do we get to the place that we want to get to? How do we end up being exactly where we want to end up? Because you're either going to be a product of your environment. Is today November 18th?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story before I move on. It's related, I promise you. Okay, ready? I don't know, Jessica, she's like, where is he going with this one? All right, so it was exactly, ready? It was November 18th, 1997, Tuesday. Parshat Chayei, same Parsha. Young man goes out on a date for the first time with a young woman, okay? That was my first date with my wife. Today's my first date anniversary. Now, funny thing is that I remember it because I was working. I was in yeshiva in the morning. I would go to college in the afternoon, and I'd work at night. And I worked like from 10 o'clock until 7 o'clock in the morning. I used to work in a mental institution. It prepared me for marriage, and and I'm not. My wife's amazing. Anyway, so but you know what? You know, it definitely prepared me for marriage. Anyway, so
When did you sleep?
I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 3 years.
Did you get me a job there?
I get you a job there. Anyway, so I knew I only had one night a week that I was dating, and then I only go out on Tuesday nights, and I went out once a week. I couldn't do anything else. That was my schedule. And if it got serious, I'd go out maybe I'd take off work on a Thursday. So Tuesday night we're on our date, and it was a nice date. I dropped her back off on her dorm, and went home, whatever it is, and we spoke with our friend who was our mutual friend who set us up, and we decided we're going to go out again the following Tuesday. Okay? Now, that Wednesday, the next day, I get a phone call from a rabbi who works with the OU named Rabbi David Felsenthal. Right? David Felsenthal was working for the OU. He used to do NCSY projects, but wanted to do stuff with collegiates. And he started a program called ASAP, American Students Activating Pride. And what he was doing was, he was taking Orthodox students on campus and pairing them up with kids who came from the former Soviet Union. These are kids who grew up in Russia, who never had a Shabbat, never had a Friday night Kiddush, never heard nothing. Setting them up, having students. So he heard that I was active on campus. I was not involved in the Hillel. I was certainly not involved with anything on campus. I was doing my own thing. But he asked if I would come and speak as a speaker, as a college student representing Orthodox kids on campus. So I said, you know what? It happens to be that Shabbat I'm off. I'll do it. Right? So I'm preparing to spend Shabbat on campus, my first campus Shabbaton. Anyway, I'm in there, and all of a sudden, I see the same girl I dated on Tuesday walk onto the Shabbaton. Now, she's not from my campus. She was up here, and she was at Columbia. So I'm like, what are you doing here? Are you stalking me? It's a weird thing. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, Rabbi Felsenthal was my NCSY director from Cleveland, Ohio, and he just moved here, and he asked me if I would come here. She's like, what are you doing here? So that first Tuesday, I spent a whole Shabbat with her. Then on Sunday, I went to the OU, had a young leadership conference. She was there for that also. We went out again on Sunday night. And then, so I spent almost 5 days with her before my date on Tuesday. Now, I'm sharing that because it was Parshat Chaye Sarah, and I was asked to speak. And the message that I shared 26 years ago is a message I want to share with you tonight because I believe it's related to the class. Okay, so that was my introduction. The question. This is what I said in a nutshell because I don't have time to go through all that. I want to go through the sheet. My question is like this: Parshat Chaye Sarah begins with we know the death of Sarah, and we know from last week that if you read the Parsha, you read the Torah, that what happens? Abraham takes Yitzchak onto the Akedah. Okay, brings him up as an offering. Rashi tells us what ends up happening is Satan comes to Sarah and says, "Look, your husband's going to sacrifice your only son." She sees it. She drops dead. Okay, second opinion is a guy named Og Melech Bashan, the Palit, the famous giant that Moshe slays in the Parsha in the Sefer Bamidbar, ends up having a crush on Sarah, and he shows her what Abraham was doing with the hopes of her divorcing Abraham so he could marry her, only for her to die. But both cases, she hears the news and she dies. And this is the question. This is the question I posed to my young collegiate peer 26 years ago, and now to this fine group of young men and women. Okay? Why does she die? I don't get it. I don't understand why she died. It drove me crazy. We know that Sarah Imenu was greater than Abraham. How do I know it? All the ladies should know this pasuk. Sarah says to Abraham, I want you to throw Hagar, Ishmael out of the house. Right? What does Abraham say? I'm not going to do that. I can't throw someone out of the house. Hashem comes to Abraham in prophecy. What does he say? Oh, there come the ladies. Shema b'kol ishtecha. Right? Listen to the voice of your wife. My wife knows that pasuk by heart. She knows all the cantillations. She could sing it. Anyway. So, right, I want you to listen to the voice of your wife. And Rashi over there says that Sarah Imenu was greater than Abraham and Nevuah. She was on a higher spiritual level than Abraham. And so much of Abraham's voice in the Chumash itself is really a reflection of Sarah puppeting Abraham. And so much of Abraham is really coming from Sarah. So if Sarah was this fierce, powerful, strong woman, beautiful, red hair, blue eyes, fair skin, right? If she was this fiery woman, okay, which the Midrash said that she was, why does she die from the news? Shouldn't she should be happy. My husband passed the test. He's going to pass this test. I believe in him. My son will pass the test. Whichever way it goes. She lived in a world of miracles. She had so much clarity. Why does the news cause her that type of anguish or lead to the kind of anxiety that brought her to die? That's my question. Is that a good question? Was that a great question for a 22-year-old? Anyway, I thought it was a great question. And I looked for answers, and I found one answer. I'm sure there are lots of answers to this question. I'm going to give you the answer that I appreciated at the time, and I think is still relevant to us today. The reason why Sarah Imenu died is simply because it wasn't her test. Period.
It wasn't her test?
Yeah. You are given a challenge that you and only you can overcome and nobody else. You are you. There will never be another you in this world. You are here because there's something unique that only you can accomplish and nobody else can accomplish it. Sarah says, not on purpose. She's pushed into a test that's not her own. And because she does not have what we call siyata dishmaya, divine providence, she drops dead. And I learned from this lesson, how often in life do we wish we could switch bags or shoes with somebody else? Oh, they have it pretty good. I wouldn't mind having those challenges. Oh, that person? That's not bad. I'd go through that in a heartbeat. You know what the answer to that question is? If you tried, you would drop dead. You don't have the power to be somebody else. You only have the power to be you and nothing else. So stop looking elsewhere and start looking inward. You know, I'm not sure if you saw this, there was a clip that was going on around yesterday of Mike Tyson. I don't know if you know who he is. He's like a famous boxer. And he was being interviewed by this little 12-year-old black girl. And she asked him, like, Mike Tyson, with all this pride, like, tell me, like, what do you want your legacy to be? You have to find this clip. Did you guys see this? You saw it? You saw it? I couldn't stop laughing. I was literally on the floor dying. It was the funniest thing ever. And he's like, legacy? He's like, legacy is dumb. Why would anyone leave a legacy? He's like, I'm going to be dead. I'll be nothing but dust and bone. He's like, who's thinking, like, legacy is about ego. He's like, forget about legacy. And he keeps going on and on and on. And you see this young girl's hopes and aspirations and dreams just being smashed and crushed. Oh, that was very interesting, sir. What just happened? And it's the exact opposite of everything we believe as Jews, right? We believe that legacy is, like, so important. Like, we talk about, these are the years of Sarah's life. We talk about Abraham, Zakenu, Baba Yamim. He was an older man. He came with his days because your legacy matters. Now, what makes these people so profound and unique is that they spend their whole life being driven by one thing. What do I need to do to move the needle a little bit higher up so I can express the best me possible? And that is the first step of this whole entire conversation about the elements. The elements is just a way of having a conversation about recognizing who you are, recognizing what you are are not. Which element are you? Are you fire, water? Are you earth? Are you air? Right? Remembering that we are all a combination of the four. Well, which midah expresses me with the most amount of clarity? Okay? And then figuring out the sub-midot. But ultimately, when I know what I am or what I'm not, now I actually understand what I'm here for, right? The Chachamim say the reason why you're here is for one reason and one reason alone. It's for you to work on your midot, period. Otherwise, what's the purpose of life? You're here because there's something unique you have to accomplish and it has to do with developing yourselves into individuals, right? The first step is visualizing the ideal you, okay? Now, let me ask you this. Can everyone here, just for a brief moment, very quickly, in your mind's eye, picture what does the ideal you look like? Are you kinder? Are you more generous? Are you more, careful with your time? Are you more focused? Are you less? Do you know how to let go? What does the best you look like? And then once you have that picture in your mind's eye, ask yourselves, how big is the gap from where you are right now currently to where you want to be? How big is that gap? Because that gap is exactly the conversation that you and I want to have, right? Let me ask you this. Is it worth putting in the effort for you to bridge the gap? If the gap is this or this, however big that gap is it worth putting in the effort? Can you articulate why you want to make that jump? Why you want to make that change? Because if you're sitting here tonight and you don't have a clear vision of who you want to be or where you want to go, you're not living life. You're part of the zombie apocalypse of people that are walking mindlessly through the streets of New York City. You're part of the group of people that just let their lives happen. And you're not part of the group of people that make their lives happen. You're not part of the people on this planet that are choosing to live a meaningfully inspired life. That's why we're here. We're here to live a life of inspiration. Well, how do you live a life of inspiration? Through action-based choices. Not deciding to sit on the log with everybody else, but doing something, actually jumping into the water. What are you doing to jump in? How are you making the change? So 4 steps, right? Number 1, does that vision of you excite you? Number 2, will it be a stretch for you to get there? Number 3, do you believe that it's possible? Number 4, is it worth the pain? And the answer should always be yes, 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 yes. But if you don't have a clear picture, you're not going anywhere. The choice is irrelevant. In the Jonathan Haidt's famous book, The Happiness Hypothesis, okay, the most boring book I've ever read in my entire life. Okay, but there's a lot of really good ideas in there. I just wish Malcolm Gladwell wrote it. He talks a lot about the elephant and the rider. And we've used that analogy before. And one of the things he says is that, like, when you have the elephant, right? The elephant, the base part of who you are, right? We spoke about this last week, that you are the part of you that truly expresses what you are is the part of you that is expressed when all the bandwidth is gone. When you're at wit's end, when you're frustrated, when you're having a hard day, when things aren't going your way, at those moments, the parts of the day where you're the most embarrassed of yourself, that expresses what you truly are. In those scenarios, we're like, that's not fair, Rabbi. Aren't you being too harsh? I'm not being too harsh. When everything is going well, right, that's not who you are. That's easy. Anyone can do that. You are what you are when things are really hard, when the world around you is falling apart, when it's Erev Shabbat and you're frustrated and you want to kill someone because you want to get into the shower and they haven't showered yet, right? That's an expression of what you really are. Who's in control? The frustration? Are you in control? Who's in control? So the elephant is an expression of the lowest parts of who you are. The rider, the highest parts of who you are. If you want to go right, and the elephant in you wants to go left, which direction are you going in? You're always going wherever the elephant takes you. You tell the elephant tomorrow morning, we're going to Great Adventure, free, on a super limo coach bus, you'll wake up without an alarm, no question about it, no matter how little sleep you got, because the elephant is excited in you. How do I get the elephant to do what I want? How do I get that elephant in me to align itself with the ratzon, with the will of the rider? Anyone know? You're all young adults, professionals, successful. Well, how do you get yourself aligned with that inner animal in you? The only answer to that question is, if you don't have a clear vision for where you want to take that elephant, he's not going anywhere. If you don't have clarity as to where you want to end up, you can't move that elephant anywhere. It'll go wherever it wants to go. And you don't want to be someone who's just an expression of their family, community, culture. Because remember, in the class about Mazalot that we spoke about last summer, 2 summers ago, right? We said that you are not defined by your mazal, that you have the ability of breaking out of your mazal. How do you do that? Okay, well, it's very simple. If you choose to live life based on your base programming, all you are is defined by your astrological signs. But the way in which you break out of your mazal is by breaking out of your defined expression of what you are. When you break out of your cultural norms, when you break out of the things that actually, influence you because of your environment and your surroundings and so on and so forth. Abraham has to go where? Out. And only when he overcomes leaving and going into the deepest part of himself and expressing it in the real world, that's when he breaks out of his mazal. Don't you want to be free from the shackles that define who you are right now? And the answer is, God is waiting for you to break those shackles. But the only way to break those shackles is by making a choice that you don't want to be defined by those things. How do I break out of it? Well, number one, do I have a visualization in my mind's eye what it means to be the best me? Am I really working towards that goal? Is it worth it? Not deciding, but the action plan to actually go ahead and do it. Number two, break it down. Okay, self-awareness, right? In terms of the midot, become aware. Simplicity, seeing, right? There's a whole list of things you need to work on. Write it down. Make it super clear. Turn the page. Scheduling, grouping, right? Take their traits by their elements, understanding what they are, scheduling when you work on it. It's not enough to go ahead and say, I'm going to do it. I want you right now to set a time once a week in your calendar, 5 minutes a week, okay, where I'm going to spend time reflecting on exactly how I'm going to break down every single step of making that picture in my mind's eye a reality. If you're not, again, I spent 9 years part of a group of men. There were 30 of us. We pitched in $100 a month, okay? We flew in a rabbi from Israel once a month, and we paid him not only his ticket, business, and we paid him a small salary, okay? There were 40 of us, actually. And we learned with this guy character development. And everything I'm sharing here is everything I got there. I spent a year and a half, 18 months on savlanut, on patience. You think you're patient? You're not patient. You're not patient until you try to conquer patience. You want to understand what it means to have gratitude, what it means to have a hakara, awareness. You don't know what any of that is until you actually are working and meditating and making it real for yourselves. You're just getting by. That's not what it means to be a Jew. Jews don't get by. Fish get by. Dogs get by. Right? Animals get by. A human being, do you know what you are? You are a nuclear, spiritual power plant of endless potential. You could be anything you want to be, but you've allowed yourselves to be defined by your environment. This is my way, Rabbi. This is what I do. This is me. No, that's not true. That's the saddest response I've ever heard in my life. It's just the way it is, Rabbi. I'm stuck. What can I say? You're not stuck. The greatest obstacle in life is yourselves. Move yourself out of the way. Get out of the way. Start dreaming again. To be a kid means to dream. The reason why we get excited when we see children, I just spent Shabbat with my granddaughter, right? She's the coolest thing in the world. I love squeezing her. She loves being squeezed. She's my main squeeze now. And the reason why we get so excited around children is simply because we see all that potential in them. There's so much opportunity there. And when we get older, we kind of get jaded into thinking, well, no, I can't do that. This is who I am. This is the box. This is my circle. This is my square. This is my zip code. These are the places. This is my stomping ground. It's nonsense. Why would you limit yourself? Why would you limit yourself? You can be anything. You can go anywhere. You can do anything. You're not stuck. You can change. But if you don't have a picture that you're working on, you're not scheduling, you're not operating through the process of growth and development, you will just be a product of your environment. You'll be defined by your parents. You'll be defined by your community. You'll be defined by your culture. You'll be defined by the area in which you live in. So if you're in New York, now you're becoming a New Yorker, right? You're from particular groups of communities, you'll be defined by the group of community you come from. And by the way, the people that are from those communities, that are stuck in their communal way, those are people that are just letting their lives happen. But the people that break out and become unique and special, we know who they are. They all have one thing in common. They spend time working really hard on becoming something more. They never ever gave in to the hopelessness to the fear of growing. Because at the end of the day, the reason why you're not growing is because either you don't believe you can, or number two, because you're afraid. Fear is not real. It's in your head. You gotta let go. Being stuck and not thinking you could actually accomplish what you set your mind to is a fallacy. It's a lie from the Satan. It's Satan's way of keeping you a prisoner. Only for you to look back at your life filled with regret. It says, Abraham Zaken v'Baba Yamim. It's interesting. We live in a time where cosmetics is like a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? But the new world of cosmetics right now is male cosmetics, right? Male cosmetics is becoming massive right now, especially hair growth, right? Men are obsessed with growing. There's a company that uses exomes. So these are like a byproduct of stem cells, and they sprinkle it on your head, and then in a week you look like a lion with like a mane coming out of your hair. You have like full head of hair. People spend millions of dollars. They're just like, I want to have hair again, right? Like Fabio, and so they'll do all dyes and creams and like skin stuff, whatever it is, all this amazing stuff. And the reason why they're doing that, I'll tell you why they're doing it from a subconscious level. Ready? They're doing it because they're realizing they're getting older. And when you're getting older, you have less days ahead of you, more days behind you, and I can't change what happened. So I'm going to look in the mirror and not think about the days that I have ahead of me. I want to sketch creating more time for my future, so I don't have to think about all the mistakes I made in my past. Avraham Zaken Ubaba Yamim. He's an old guy, he's got wise, but his days are coming with him. Most old people want to leave their days behind. Don't bring that with me. Don't bring my past with me. Leave my past behind. I don't want to see it. But Abraham, he takes his days with him into his old age because he's proud of every single second. He's excited. He's amazed because he lives a life, a meaningful life, a purpose. For those of you that are unaware, we spoke about how the elements are reflected in the months, and how each month has a particular element and the traits that comes with it. I don't want to go through all of it with you because you can do that on your own. I want you to spend time, look right now at your birth month. Okay, it starts with Nisan, okay, and it goes straight there. Nisan's around April, okay. Go straight down, find your month, read your month that you're in, okay. Read your unique, trait, and I want you to think a little bit about that trait and how the good parts of that trait allow you to become something. Am I missing something here? No, it's in there. It's in there. It's on the other side. Turn the page. Yeah. Okay. Pick your trait and go through your trait. Okay. Mine is I was born in Tishrei. It says this month is Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. Woohoo! I was born on the 4th day of Sukkot. It is also when the Jewish people received the Torah for the second time. Right? As we said, the month of Sivan, a deep study in the analysis of Torah, and represented by the air element. Air people are usually very brainy, and sometimes they get stuck in either thinking they know too much, and therefore they're unmotivated, or they're so lost in their thoughts that they really can't relate to humanity. Okay? Understanding the nature of what you are, of where the chisaron comes from, using the midot as a way of propelling you to become something bigger. Step number 4, okay? Working on your character traits, okay? So far we went through, number 1, visualizing the ideal you, breaking it down, becoming self-aware, simplifying it, and then scheduling in the time to actually make a difference. Now let's talk about cheshbon hanefesh, okay? Number 3, okay? We're on page 3, I believe, okay? On the bottom, every single feeling, no matter how small, leaves an impression on the memory, even if it is forgotten by the conscious mind. When that feeling is experienced again, it combines with the original impression, strengthening itself. Each time the feeling is repeated, all the accumulated traces of the previous impressions merge with it, amplifying its effect. Over time, even the most seemingly insignificant series of experiences can build up to become strong enough to overshadow or overwhelm a significant event. This would explain why all of you struggle with your mothers, right? One small feeling that's not an uncontested ill feeling about a mother or about a parent over and over again leads to overreaction, being super triggered by whatever a mother says. Because you never push yourself and saying, you know what, I have an obligation to honor my mother and my father. I have a responsibility to work on giving them the proper kavod. And if I'm not working on that midah, giving them proper kavod, of course, every single time my mom says something and it triggers me, I'm going to respond back to her in a very unreasonable, very harsh way, because I got to show her. There's no humility, no avodah. Again, just barking like an animal. You will, if you don't challenge, you will be in trouble.
It's also why you can't, like the isur avonat devarim, to make someone feel bad, because when you touch on that feeling, you're bringing them back to that place, and it's strengthening the whole experience again, is what he's saying.
That's exactly what he's saying in Cheshbon Nefesh. Let's keep going. Daily study and reading. When I was doing my avodah in Sablanut, I had it reading every single day. I had a particular chapter I was reading. I would read every single day for 5 minutes. I knew every single day at 9 o'clock, I'd pull out my sheet of paper. I had it on my alarm. I had it on my phone. I would read it every 5 minutes every single day. If you're not creating a cycle of growth and personal development, it's not going to happen. Am I overwhelming you guys? Because I'm trying to, and it's not really working. Like, I don't know. You have to have a daily study reading routine every single day. There has to be something that you are reading to help make that visualization a reality. Number 2, journaling. I would argue journaling is one of the most profound things you could possibly do. Do you have a journal where you're saying, hey, today is Monday, this November 18th, and I decided I'm going to journal every single day. I'm going to write every single day for the next 30 days about me working on the gap in that visualization and making that my reality. Make it real for yourselves. I didn't do journaling because I don't like writing. I did charting instead. I made a chart every single day of if I was working on a particular midah. I said, this month I'm working on, on kavod, on giving people proper kavod. And so or anivut, on being humble. So I had a chart 30 days. It said anivut on top. It said kavod on top. I put the dates on it, and I put a special box for my reading. So every day I would check for reading, and every single day check for being mindful of the avodah that I was working in. So if I was working on anivut, I'd give myself a special check if I saw myself in the day bringing that midah into my world. So imagine doing that for 30 days. You don't think that's going to change you? I'm telling you it's going to change you. If you could be anything in the world, what would you be? And what would you do to become that? If I could help you become what you want to be, what would you give me? No, but I'm just telling you, I can't do it for you. You got to do it for yourself. I'm telling you how to do it right now. These are the tools. This is how Abraham did it. This is how what was his name again? What was his name? The guy that wrote Cheshbon Nefesh in Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was a Binyamin. Yeah, I know. Benjamin Franklin was a sick, dirty old man when he got older. But when he was a young guy, he had more patents than anybody. He was super wealthy. He was super educated, very well read. He created a system called journaling and charting. He had a book where he charted for 30 days all the things he wanted to do. We actually have copies of his charts. You can Google it. It's fascinating. He had particular midot he was working on. He had a visualization every single day. This guy worked really hard to be able to accomplish the things that he did. The guy discovered electricity, for God's sake. That's pretty crazy. You got to be insane to want to do that. Holding a kite with a key, in an electricity store. That was interesting. Journaling, visualization. Look at what the Noam Elimelech says. Okay, when you're idle in a room by yourself or lying in bed unable to sleep, concentrate on doing Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name. God counts a thought as a deed, and as a result, you are not idly sitting or lying, but fulfilling a commandment in the Torah. There's no such thing as just doing nothing. Visualizations are powerful. Oh, by the way, if you are struggling with sleep at night, take out this paper and try to visualize. I promise you in 2 minutes you'll be able to sleep. You can't sleep at night? Try to work on a midah. Okay? I promise you'll be unconscious within 30 seconds. It's the perfect antidote to people that have sleep issues. You'll just pass out. You'll be like the best sleep ever. You're not going to wake up in the middle of the night. You're not going to go to bed. You're like perfect. All you got to do is take this thing seriously. You'll come back, no bags in your eyes. Perfect sleep. Rabbi, that was the best advice ever. The Satan does not want you to work on yourself. He will ensure you the best possible sleep, always, because he doesn't want you to do that. Okay? Affirmations. I found affirmations very powerful. I see affirmations in tefillah itself. I don't know if you guys pray, but if you have a prayer in the morning, find one aspect of the tefillah that inspires you to make that visualization your reality. For me, it was there's an old movie that I grew up with. I remember it was one of the first movies I saw in the movie theater called Scarface, and my parents, they were foreign immigrants. They didn't know. Anyway, so they thought it was bad. Anyway, I'm not sure what they thought, but anyway, so there was a great sign he had in his office, and it was like a neon globe. Anyone know what it said on it? And it said, the world is yours. And when I got older, I realized that I recognized it because it comes from the Hebrew Bishvili Nivra Ha'olam. Right? The world was created for you. The world is yours. Why did Al Pacino, Scarface, okay, Tony Montana from Cuba, right, have a neon globe in his palace that says the world is yours? Why does a mobster need that type of visualization? Because even for a guy like a criminal, like Tony Montana, okay, he even needs to be inspired. So he says, you know what, the world is mine. Everything in the world is mine. So how am I going to live that reality? I'm going to see it every single day. I'm going to put it on neon lights. I'm going to blow it up and put it outside of my office. And every day I walk in, I'm going to believe Bishvili Nivra Ha'olam. Do you believe that? Do you believe that the world was created for you? I struggle with that sometimes, right? And then I think about all the little things that I was able to do in my life, and I realize, like, wow, thank God, I've made some amazing choices. Because in reality, I shouldn't be the one giving this class. I should be the one sitting in the audience. I should not be standing up here. I shouldn't even be in a synagogue, for that matter, right? But the choices that I made, the constant reflection, visualization was a very big part of my growth and development. The most powerful visualization I had was knowing that I wanted to have a very special family, and then asking myself what kind of a spouse would I need to marry to make that family a reality. And then I said to myself, well, would that kind of a girl want to marry the kind of guy that I am? And the answer back then was for sure no, right? So what do I got to do to become that guy? And I worked tirelessly to convince my wife that's who I became. And I succeeded. And I succeeded. Baruch Hashem, I worked really hard to become whatever I became, and she saw that in me, and thank God, here we are 26 years later. Okay, thank you. Soon by you. Okay, but this is very important. You have to reward yourselves. After you finished going ahead and making yourselves the chart, you do your reading, you have your mantra, very important to reward yourself. Every 30 days, after you finish completing a chart or you're going to go ahead and journal, take yourself out. Buy yourself a smoothie, get yourself an ice cream, do something, spend $1,000, go crazy, just do something for yourself. It's very important. I know this is going to sound so crazy, this is going to sound absolutely insane, but I'm telling you this works, okay? The elephant in you does not want you to become great. He's lazy, he doesn't want to take you anywhere. So the more you feed the elephant, the more you reward the elephant for taking you on the journey that you want to go on, the more likely the elephant will help you get there. It sounds crazy, I know, but it's true. Try it for 30 days. Money back guarantee. Anyone who wants your money back, I'll give you back your $10. Okay? You do this for 10 days. Okay? I'll give you money back guarantee. I promise you will thank me for the rest of your lives. Your lives will become different. You don't walk the same way. You don't live the same way. Your whole life is different. Okay. Takeaways, reflect, that's simple, going back and obviously looking back and about what you accomplished and asking yourself the next 30 days, what's next? Summary. Visualize the ideal you, break it down to specific traits. Number 3, create a schedule of when you're going to work on what. Number 4, do the work that includes studying, journaling, visualizing, mantras, rewarding, and takeaways. Okay, great. Okay. Hu Haya Omer. Right? This is a famous Mishnah in Perkei Avot, And he said, She'en lecha adam, she'en lo sha'ah. There is no man that does not have his hour. Ve'en lecha davar she'en lo makom. There's nothing that doesn't have his place. What is this Mishnah talking about? That there's no man that does not have their hour. An hour for what? What's he talking about? No. Why is it going to be so negative? You have your hour to shine. Everyone here is going to have their hour to shine. Right? They're going to have their hour to go ahead and become sparkle like a diamond in the sky. Like a diamond in the sky. What? What's so funny? Anyway, okay, fine. Anyway, that is exactly what this Mishnah is about. Okay? Every single person has a moment where they will be on the stage and they'll be put into a position to express the best parts of themselves. Okay? Like that woman, was it Daphna Cohen, who had those terrorists in her house, right? And she was like making them cakes and schmoozing. What was her name? Rachel. Was it Rachel Cohen?
Not Cohen.
Edry? I don't remember her name. You know what I'm talking about. The IDF lady that somehow figured out to bamboozle the 5 terrorists in her house and like got them to sit there patiently, calmly, revealing all of their Hamas secrets to her while she was making cakes and cookies and whatever it is, right? That was her moment. I'm sure she's an amazing human being, but she was a rock star after that, right? She had her moment to shine. There was this interview today where I forgot the name of this hostage, who, you guys saw that?
Moran.
Was that her name?
The son of Hamas.
Yes.
Yeah, Moran.
Oh, it was awesome. It's like an amazing clip. You guys should go watch it. She's amazing.
Can't stop watching her.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Oh, you know who she is? Oh, anyway, I don't have time. People send me snippets and I watch it. Anyway, fine. So the point is that there are moments where you're all going to shine. Okay? And I don't know when that moment's going to be, but I know it's going to happen. Now, you could either be the person that is prepared for that moment, which is what this is right now. This, my friends, is a dress rehearsal. Oh my gosh, the rabbi told me, we got to visualize. I got to have a picture of the best of me. I'm going to start taking this journaling thing so serious, but I love the reward part. The reward part makes so much sense. Every 30 days, I'm going to get myself a reward, and that's it. No, you don't want to just get yourself the reward. The reward comes after the work, okay? Reinforce it. But know that you're waiting for that moment to happen. Some of you might be waiting. You think you're waiting for that moment. Everyone will have that moment. Everyone will have that moment. The Baal Shem Tov says, listen, look at number 5. He says, a soul comes down for 70, 80 years just to do a favor for someone else. What does that mean? Is that all I'm here for? Maybe. I don't know. But I know that each of you has a unique moment where you have something profound that you have to accomplish, and only you can do it. You could do it with grace and be prepared for it, and be strong and proud, or you could do it unwillingly in an unfortunate circumstance. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to be on some stage with the son of Hamas, talking about what it was like being taken away by terrorists into Gaza, and that becomes your moment to shine. I don't want that to be your moment. I don't want anyone to have to go through, God forbid, the challenge and the pain and the suffering to have an awakening when you can do it on your own. You don't need to wait for circumstance to wake you up. You can choose right now to wake yourselves up, because you're just sleeping right now. If you don't have that avodah that you're working through right now, you're not awake, you're sleeping, you're losing out on time. Perkei Avot, Mishneh Avot, what does he say over here? He says, Hu haya omer, right? Yafeh sha'acha b'teshuva u'ma'asim tovim ba'olam hazeh mikol chayei olam haba. You think that when you die, you're going to have 70 women or men waiting there for you? Well, spoiler alert, one moment in this world of doing good is worth more than anything in the afterlife. I don't care about the afterlife. I care about now. This is your time to shine, not then. Take this time seriously. Gemara in Avodah Zarah, number 7, says, there are those who acquire their place in the next world in one small moment. One small deed. Boom. Everything you need to accomplish in that small moment. You become great. You can become great in 5 minutes. Ready? You become great by how you use an extra 5 minutes that you have periodically. If when you have an extra 5 minutes you decide to waste them, you will live a life of mediocrity. But if you realize that all those extra 5 minutes can be used to start accomplishing something great, then continue next time. You have 5 minutes, and then again next time, and then you will truly be great. There's that famous story of a wealthy father who was on his deathbed, and he had 2 sons, and he said to them, you know what, I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to give you $1 million right now, or I'll give you a penny right now that'll compound for the next 30 days. What do you want? So the oldest son says, give me $1 million right now, or a penny. The second son realized the father wants to teach him a lesson. Do you know how much 1 penny compounds into 30 days? Anyone know? About $10.7 million. That means 1 penny, 2 pennies, 4 pennies. By 30 days, you have 10.7 million. That's what time is. Time, we could compound time. I'm not telling you to go ahead and join a kollel and sit there and learn all day. I'm telling you, you need 5 minutes a day, a little bit of visualization, a little bit of reading, and you compound that. That's what growth looks like. Real growth, the people that you admire are people that are spending more than 5 minutes a day, but minimally 5 minutes a day where they're growing and developing themselves. Mark Twain says there are 2 most important moments of your life: the day that you are born and the day that you find out why. And I believe today is that day. It's so funny. I believe today is that day, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to go to that place. I want you to leave your land. I want you to go away from your father's house to the land that I will show you. Why can't God just tell him where he's going?
He wants to give him reward for every step of the way.
Okay, true, but still, you could tell him it's go to there, and he'll end up there. Well, what difference does it make? It's in the same place. The Mishnah Avot says, Asra Deshonot, God gave 10 different tests to Abraham. Okay, and he was able to overcome all of them. Okay? He accomplished all his tests because he wasn't worried about the destination. He understood that life is about the journey. God doesn't tell him where he's headed simply because he understands that it's irrelevant. What matters is how you're using the time to develop yourself along the way. That's what matters most. It doesn't matter where you're going at the end. I always say this on the trips that I've led. It doesn't really matter where I go with people. It matters who you're going with, right? And if you go with the right kind of people, no matter where you're going, it's going to be a great time. And that's true about yourself. If you're the kind of person that has that self-deep awareness about who you are and where you're going in life, no matter where you end up at the end is irrelevant. God does not tell him where because it doesn't matter where you end up at the end. What matters is the journey itself. And the journey it demands that there's some time, effort, and energy put into answering the question of, what am I doing to become the best of me? And I really believe this. And maybe we'll end with this Mishnah. He says, not now, when. Maybe this makes a little bit more sense. Hillel Hazaken. Hillel was saying that that what we have is right now. And now is the most important thing in the world. And if you walk out of a conversation like this and there's zero change, you're like a frog sitting on the log, deciding to jump, but too afraid that the water might be too cold. Your whole life wondering what it's like to go into the water. And I know that 99% of the time, when people actually jump in, they have the best time of their lives. Stop creating excuses for not pushing yourselves to become something more. Start throwing yourselves into the scenario that pushes you to become something bigger. You have the steps, the tools to do it. Just go ahead and do it. And let God give you all the things he's dying to give you. He wants to give you everything. I promise you, he's waiting to give you everything. But all he's doing is waiting for you to take that next step. My bracha is that you recognize that small little next step is so close to opening up everything that you need to find everything that you're looking for. Right? It'll be a year in the life of simcha, of bracha, and nachat. All Hashem is asking you to take that step. Thank you so much for joining this series. Bezrat Hashem, next week we are going to start the Jewish art of manifesting. It's not enough to go ahead and put in the avoda, but if you fail to implement all these things at the very least, I'm going to drill into your heads that you could make your future a reality. by just me driving you crazy and thinking about it every single week for the next 10 weeks. All right, have a great night, everybody. B'ezras Hashem, we'll see you next week. Shavua Tov. Questions, comments?